New York was actually the largest illicit market left in the country.
The legal cannabis cash flow for the Empire State begins now. A recent study valued New York's marijuana industry at $4.6 billion. The governor believes that breaks down to $350 million in tax revenues each year.
We think it's actually going to be bigger than that over the long run.
Columbia Care Vice President Adam Goers.
We are one of the 10 licensees in New York that produces medical cannabis products and soon will be a part of the adult use industry.
While Columbia Care waits to apply for a license to sell recreational marijuana, they're already planning to create at least 100 new jobs as the state's medical marijuana program expands right away.
We expect this to really grow the medical market by 2 or 3x.
Companies across the country are now lining up to join New York's green boom. Matt Hawkins is the founder of private equity firm Entourage Effect Capital.
We are going to be very active in New York as investors, both with burgeoning opportunities and also with medicinal licenses.
The business opportunities will not just be for big companies with deep pockets. The Drug Policy Alliance spent over a decade working with lawmakers up in Albany.
Making sure that we're going to put into the bill a framework that would center people who don't have access to huge amounts of capital necessarily.
50% of the licenses for new marijuana businesses will go to social equity applicants, people from neighborhoods with high rates of marijuana enforcement, businesses owned by minorities and women, and service-disabled veterans.
Super importantly, would also provide low and zero interest loans to social equity applicants.
Dwayne Belgrave is a small business owner from Long Island, interested in the opportunity a marijuana license might bring.
I think it's very much exciting, especially for people like
medical marijuana is now becoming a major business here in Oklahoma. Last week, we showed you just how many dispensaries have popped up here.
And all new this morning, we take a look at the patient side. 2 Works View's Giselle Puente talked to local doctors about the most common health conditions people have in order to get a license.
Cannabis has been my answer to all my prayers.
Medical marijuana had never crossed Dawn Arbel's mind until it became legal in Oklahoma. Before the drug, she says her quality of life started to suffer from previous medications.
I was on every triptan possible for migraines, and those were adverse effects were horrible. I couldn't function. I had to be at home, in bed, asleep.
Arbel says she's had carpal tunnel syndrome for the past 8 years, causing her pain in her wrists. But that's changed.
Well, this one is, it's a pain roll-on. You just roll it on, and it has the CBD in it.
Arbel is one of more than 89,000 people who have been licensed by the state to use medical marijuana, and that number is only getting higher. The Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority receives about 5,000 patient applications a week. This demand keeps doctors busy.
We see a lot of people, but we're very thorough. Everything gets put into the medical record.
Dr. Meredith Woodward, who is certified by the Board of Neurological Surgery, is one of the local doctors who currently recommends patients for medical cannabis.
I would say the majority of people are middle age to old age.
She says the most common health conditions she sees are anxiety and depression. It's up to her to consider what is deemed necessary to make a recommendation. Unlike other states, such as Arizona and Colorado, patients must meet certain qualifying conditions to access medical cannabis, which include cancer, glaucoma, HIV, and PTSD. While Oklahoma has one of the least restrictive laws in the country, Dr. Woodward doesn't see this as a bad thing.
We get people randomly who have a condition that I would never have thought of that cannabis might help. And what if that weren't on the list?
On the patient side, Arbel says not everyone might benefit from medical marijuana, but it worked for her.
I get out, I walk around, I hike.
Reporting in Tulsa, Giselle Puente, 2 Works for You.
Well, the old steel supply building across the Oklahoma River from Bricktown will reopen in August. Instead of steel, the building will house thousands of medical marijuana plants. Only News 9's Steve Shaw has the story. He is live at the Cox Convention Center. Shaw?
Kelly, Thursday and Friday, the Cox Convention Center will host CannaCon, which is basically Oklahoma City's medical marijuana convention. Cannabis will also introduce a massive 65,000 square foot indoor grow operation that will be known as Cola Organics.
Cola is an underground grower term. It is for the most elite, pristine nug in the entire canopy of the grow. This one right here is our pineapple cola. It's a great strain for an active person during the day. It's what I like to call your coffee type weed to get you going through the day.
Cola Organics president Bryce Davis is a hometown boy. He grew up in Duncan. He played football at UCO, then survived 3 years as a long snapper for Cincinnati and Pittsburgh in the NFL. Davis says after his playing career ended in 2014, there were difficult days. He says medical marijuana made them much better. He came back home from Oregon, where he was working in the industry, and convinced fellow investors not to turn the old Steel Supply Co. into a giant haunted house.
You're seeing 22 strains. Of the 22, we like 7.
Instead, he says Cola Organics will one day be the largest indoor grow operation in the state.
It's grown from a living soil that we make in-house from scratch. The soil itself stinks. It's got about 16 different ingredients in it. So when you pop open our bags from a dispensary, it should smack you in the face with aroma. I have personally witnessed terminal cancer patients, treat their terminal cancer with cannabis oil and be cancer-free.
Cola Organics will launch several products this Thursday and Friday. Live at the Cost Convention Center, Steve Shaw, Oklahoma's own News 9.
Okay.